many film choices in a way and so many distractions in our daily lives. It is wonderful to gather together as a community and to share a story and to think deeply about, conditions in other parts of the world and the role and the connections we have to it. So I thank you all for coming here, and congratulations on your festival. The lineup looks just incredible, and we are just so pleased to have you here in our home. So thank you.
So for the movie tonight, it's called Bhagyale Bachekaharu. As you all know, last year on April 25th, we had that earthquake, and this movie shows the miraculous survival of some people after the disaster struck. So I hope you enjoyed the movie, and we will meet you after that. Thank you.
Continuing our scholarship program for untouchable children in Humla, creating a platform to support social entrepreneurship, mentorships and job for youth, and continuing our effort to bring Himalayan stories to the Bay Area through the Himalayan Film Festival. No one to blame to, no one to point fingers to. We've dissolved our ego into love. We will serve from depths of our spirit to love our earth.
So it was an opportunity that initially we thought was a disaster, and now I feel like we are letting that opportunity turn into an actual disaster.
This place of cremation reminds me that I must honor my each breath. Each breath is a blessing, even the breaths that are broken. It is really my beginning, sitting with friends, meditating, healing ourselves, healing each other and the earth. We let go of our fears. I see me in you. I see you in me. I see me in us.
My name is Cheon. I am from Nepal. Back in Nepal, I am a lawyer, an environmental lawyer. But apart from that, by passion, I am a farmer, a cyclist, and a volunteer. And we have a small non-profit called Youth Thinker Society, which we've been working together with a lot of people. And the reason today I am here is because my family that I called today were strangers a year back, before the earthquake. And through Youth Thinker Society and Sahayeta, I met Nisha and all the lovely people, and also got this opportunity to be in front of you. It's an absolute pleasure.
I resigned my job and I retired after the earthquake. And I think collectively we've done so much work together. So now I just follow the passion of try to connect to my spirit and my non-stop mind, because I was sort of waiting to find happiness in tomorrow. If this will happen, I'll be happy. This will happen, I will be happy. But the earthquake broke me. It forced me to look deep within me and to say, what am I waiting for? Because midst of the rubble, when we were sleeping outside, nothing mattered. The 401k didn't matter, the savings didn't matter, the gray hairs of the worries of the gray hair didn't matter, or the wrinkles. So only mattered is what was our breath and the love that we had for each other, because that's the only thing that saved us.
So just share a little bit more with me and us. What is the shift you said is going back to our ego, at least over in Nepal, that it brought us together as human beings, had a chance to experience that, and now a year later it's going back towards ego? Was I hearing it right?
Before the earthquake, I'm just a character that represents the youth of Nepal and beyond. We are self-centered. I'm a narcissist. I am a narcissist. But again, to compromise to an extent where you forget that you are, as Siddhi's rightly said, that you are no more I, but we. And before the earthquake, it was like we were so individualistic that I was in love with my family. I have a girlfriend who I was in love with. And few selected people that I would say, at times, maybe I'll die for you. But literally, I don't know. But after the earthquake, there was a paradigm shift. Because from loving a person, I started loving people. And as Siddhi said, that from being I, we collectively stood up to do what we are supposed to do. Nobody asks us that you go and do something. We could see that there is a fire within us, a very, very bright fire within us, but then we all know what fire can do. It can heat up cold weather. It can give life, but at the same time, it can destroy. And that is what our ego can do. So there was this big wall of ego, big wall of the selfishness in you, that you are so centered around yourself, your life. But after the earthquake, things have changed. Without expectations, you do things that you need, or you feel that there is a necessity to do. So for me personally, there was a big paradigm shift. My ambitions of leading my country someday, being a prime minister, or being the president, or many other things, it's all gone now. I'm more about being in the now. What can I do with this blessing that I have? Because I am the blessed minority. We are the blessed minorities.
So I would see, patients every 15 minutes. The stories would be, I was incarcerated for 15 years now, and I have 10 medicines, and I am supposed to find a place to live. Or I just crossed the border. I don't know why I have a headache. We talked to her, and she says she was raped when she was 17. But that's not the thing that she's crying about. But she's crying about her daughter who was just raped a week ago, crossing the border. And the story goes on and on. The Iraqi person says, streets in Iraq is a lot safer than streets in Oakland. The story would just continue and continue, and I had to find myself, where am I? And then I come home to fancy San Francisco, my neighborhood is fine, but in Oakland there's gunshots, at least in the neighborhood that I was working in, there's gunshots every day. I cross the bridge and it's fine. We all live in this perfect, I would have a happy glass of wine, to just forget what I saw in the clinic. So I had to look deeper and say, where am I? These two worlds paradox. My rich friends were educated, we all have a glass of wine and fancy organic food. Then my patients, my family, the patients on the other side of the world is, they tell me how much cocaine would cost. They tell me how much things would cost on the street. And initially, I thought just homeless Americans were just lazy, because I could make it as an immigrant. Why can't lazy American make it? But then, the universe pushed me there for a reason. I had to crush my own ego and really connect with the other part of the world. And it's really taught me a lot. So sorry, short answer, but that's where I was.
But it's the truth. And so as your friend and working with you in this film, my takeaway was that once she was placed in an unfamiliar a set of circumstances in East Oakland, which is brown and black folks, and then wondering what could she do with them, and then realizing she was starting to create family with them and compassion with them, and listening to all these heartfelt stories, and it felt similar to being home in a way. But in that ego where she had to come down from is what the film was about, that it broke her, and not being able to serve the people. You can't serve someone's need in 15 minutes. It's not a drive-through. People are not drive-throughs. It was when someone comes to you and say that I've been in prison or whatever the list of things, it broke her. And then the earthquake happened. And going back there, one of the things I asked her as the budding director is to find the rubble, the temples, the things that represent your breaking. So I have a question. I know this probably was inside of your head. If you can answer, if you don't mind. What is the emotional story of people a year later? Who's helping them process what happened? The tiny details of your life and the bigger details of your life. Not just where home is coming from, but what's happening. Because I think we here can kind of agree with all huggy, warmy feeling, go get a massage therapy, go to yoga practice, go do something else, talk to a friend. What's happening?
I sometimes think that why we survived the earthquake. why Joan and I survived the earthquake, why Nisha survived the earthquake. She might have been in Nepal, but she was in California here. Why did my family survive? Why my loved ones, no one died? Why did they survive? There is a reason behind that. Apart from your question, I'd like to answer in a different way. We were survived to help the nation, to empower the nation, to empower the people of Nepal, to provide sympathy, not only sympathy, empathy as well, right? So I'd like to keep it short, but I think these were the things that we were survived, and we need to focus more on the people of Nepal, providing them a better opportunities from the things that we have gone through. We need to learn from the past and then move forward. Thank you.
And hats off to you all, the younger generation. I have never ever seen dedication like you all had. It brings tears to my eyes still. But we need leaders like you. And when you say you have given up on being a leader, to me that is a big disappointment. You know, I want you all to rise and kick these bastards out.
Because everything that we do today will determine who will be tomorrow. My dream of leading my country someday, I didn't abandon it. I'm still pursuing it, but being in the now. Because I believe this is the process too. Honestly, I went through an interview at the US Embassy almost 6 years ago. And I had a big brawl with the officer who was about to interview me. And I said I will withdraw my application. And I don't need to go to your country. I said I don't need to go to your country. I was determined that I will never come to US. Being very honest with you. But then again, now I see that US itself is not a person that I need to hate. There are a lot of people like you who can listen to me, who can listen to what I have to say or what they need to do. For example, how amazingly everyone, regardless of who you are or where you are from, helped during the earthquake. So the biggest change in me is I am here, and I have abandoned that side of me. I have let go of that part where I'm like all egoistic, saying I am the supreme being, and I don't need to go to that country to learn something. Now I want to listen to people, and I want to learn. Because in that way, the process will be complete in time to come. And if I survive, maybe someday, we will together definitely lead our country, because the current government that we have is nothing but the representation of our society. And I am the part of the society.
That whatever is happening to the earth, that's reflecting earthquakes, tsunamis, whatever you want to name, the politicians, is that a part of our story inside, and do we ignore that with our ego?
We should remember how we forget. Because that overwhelming youth energy that we saw in initial days of the earthquake, I don't know where it is now. Most of the youth, they're out. I'll share you one incident. We had a lot of volunteers, about 600 of them. And one day, a volunteer called saying, Bhai, that means brother, I can't come to volunteer today because I told my mom that I was going out to deliver relief packages, and she said, no, you should stay home. I could say nothing. And I said, okay, it's your mom's law, you should stay home. After 45 minutes, we were like packing stuffs at the office, and all of a sudden I see the same guy there. And I said like, wow, you are here. You said you won't be coming. And he said to me that I told my mom that I was going to play poker at my friend's home, and she gave me 500 rupees and tell me, go play, but don't get out. People were ready to lie to come and volunteer. But then like those same youth, I don't know where they are lost. So that is what did not work.
I want to go to the government or big high NGOs and NGOs, but what did work is we have made connections which gives us hope. And if we can stick to this hope, if we can multiply this hope with a bit of positivity, what did not work will work.
You know, during the earthquake, as we see in the film, that, you know, hundreds and thousands of people just woke up and wanted to leave and resign and go to Nepal. You know, everybody from the village to rescue risked their lives. You know, as we see the inspector, you know, crawl through the small crevices to pull that man out. And then what we saw during the blockade, as some of you know, that, you know, for 4 months we had the unofficial embargo from India. And the same media that wanted to interview us, we would tell stories after stories. More people are at risk for dying right now with the blockade. And sorry, let me finish this and then I'd be happy to answer. So, you know, the same human beings who responded to, you know, I think what I'm really exploring is, are we afraid of Mother Nature? You know, when something happens, whether it's an earthquake or tornado or something, we just wake up and say, okay, we need to do something. But then there's a war in Oakland every day that we ignore. You know, there's like, you know, just wars everywhere if you look at it and what Syria has turned out to be. So if there's sort of a natural disaster, all of a sudden we just want to go and leave everything. But if humans are fighting each other, we just seem to be like, I'm helpless, I can't do anything. So this is, I'm asking myself every day, what is it about humans what is it? It's not like we're bad people. Look at what we've done.
It's because that we enacted a constitution that did not respect the rights of some fraction of our country. But the interpretation done by I don't know who wasn't right. As being a lawyer myself, it's one of the best constitutions I've ever come across, even when I review it. And also, there was a big political turmoil in the southern part of our country, as the protesters weren't letting the vehicles come across. I don't know how true is that as well, because I didn't go there. And what media tells me, I filter it a lot, because. But then, adding to that, the blockade was another big example of our ability to survive, the resiliency, because nobody complained. In Nepal, if you increase the bus fare by 2 rupees, that's hardly 2 cents, tomorrow you will get you get out of your house and there's a block, there's like big strike. People are burning tires and you know, like talking about overthrowing the government. But during that time, nobody complained. We did not have LPG gas. People were cooking with firewoods. We had no vehicles. We were walking. We were cycling, and the sky was clear. I could stargaze, and nobody died of hunger. We import more than 85% of our total food supplies from India, but amazingly, in those 4 months, no one died. I wonder how. It's because we can be self-reliant. And as I said earlier, that I'm a farmer as well. I have an organic farm in Nepal. It was a big opportunity because only in 4 years it has been I've started my farm. During those 4 months, I made profit for the first time. Because people were willing to buy my product now. They're coming to my farm and saying, like, you should give this to me. So then, like, it was an example for us to take in a positive way. And maybe we have in many ways. So the politics of blockade is a big mystery. We have different perspectives and we don't know what to believe. But we believe that we are self-sufficient and we can be interdependent. In any South Asian countries, if you take your car, if somebody is standing there and you say, hey, where are you going? I can take you there. No one will trust you. It's like, no, I'm fine. Because there have been news that many people were abducted and harassment and all. But during carpool, people were connected again. The ego subsided. It was gone. Everybody's like taking lifts and We also did a lot of trips, carpooling people from here to there, and it was amazing. Yeah, it was an example too that we can use public transportation and lessen the use of fossil fuels, which has, as you saw the video, that Kathmandu, the city only is very polluted, very, very polluted.
Maybe this is a suggestion to what you offered, I don't know, but first, what really stood out to me, and hopefully you can hear me, what I really appreciated for both films was, in your film, the little boy who was running up and down the stairs, and at the end, showing the youth, and even the youth volunteering with you all. And I think the biggest thing that stood out for me was when the man's son was recovered, and he said, when I saw my son, it was like I saw God. And so maybe it's that when we see each other collectively, we don't see God, even though we should, right? Because I don't have children, and I don't imagine to know what that would be like. But if I think if that was my mother, and I thought she was dead for 6 days, and I'd given up hope, and there she is, then maybe for me it would feel like I saw God too. So I really appreciated you having the youth and showing just the little boy, how happy he was, and how the kid, because that's the other thing, we lose that freedom and happiness of just running up some stairs. I mean, as simple as running upstairs was so much as beating a drum. So thank you for including those clips.
And I think one of my takeaways is that the one thing you said in the film, Nisha, is that all we really have is each breath that we take. That's the only thing we really have. And if we could read inside of that, even the broken breaths, meaning that the part of us that feels like we're not okay some days, even those broken breaths. Because if we just covered our mouth right now and had a contest to see who could last the longest and holding, I guarantee no one would make 6 minutes without their breath. So thank you for coming out and sharing. It's been a fabulous evening, Yes.